Hey, I'm Rihanna and welcome to this video. Today we're going to be going over a review of Very Easy Vogue V9344. This pattern right here. Now I made view B, which is this one here with these lovely sleeves. I also think these sleeves are so nice, and you can mix and match as well. You could do like this part with these sleeves or vice versa, but this is the one I did. Now, do I agree with the name Very Easy? No, I wouldn't classify this as a very easy pattern. It's probably not made better by the fact that this was the first dress I ever sewed with not really any experience. The first garment I'd ever made. I hadn't sewed previously for many, many years. And when I had, it was just when I was a kid and I made a few bags. That was it. That was my sewing experience. And I jumped right in to this pattern here. I really love my fabric choices for this one. I think it was exceptional. This fabric was not the greatest choice as a beginning sewer to use. It's slippery, it's hard to hold, it frays so much, like it's fraying everywhere. And yes, this didn't go in, that's just bits peeking out. And yeah, this garment in general, it's just fraying. This is the inside. I could overlock it, definitely. I didn't have an overlocker at the time. I could have at least zigzag stitched or something on it, but I didn't. And I cut this and now it's like really small, so there's not much shaving it. I still wear this though. I know some people wouldn't, but I wear this. I'm really proud of it still, even though it's the first thing I made and it's not that excellent. I'm still really proud of it and I absolutely still love how it looks. There are some holes in here, not too much really. Like there's a bit of a gap here on this sleeve, bit up here, and there is a big hole somewhere. Right here, there's a hole just in this seam. I must have just clipped it with my scissors when I was trimming it up. And the gathering is horrendous on these sleeves. You can't tell as much, which I'm so thankful for with this fabric. I mean, you can tell, but it's not as horrible. I didn't know how to gather, so I didn't even bother gathering. I just scrunched up the fabric and sewed over the top of it. Definitely the wrong way to go, but I was really confused how to gather and what to do. The instructions on here I found very difficult, keeping in mind this was the first time I was ever reading a pattern. So take that information with a bit of a grain of salt, my opinion on it. I found it very hard to read. I was Googling different parts of it, trying to work out what it meant. I couldn't work out a lot of different parts of this pattern on what it was telling me to do. You know, I was Googling, I was calling my mum. She has a little bit of experience making clothes, and I was saying, what on earth does this mean? What do I have to do? And she was trying to walk me through stuff. So that's how I got through it. Yeah, I found all of it very confusing, but that mostly was because it was my first dress. Now, a zipper. I wouldn't classify a pattern with like a zipper to be very easy, like maybe just easy. Vogue was sort of, you know, making me very confident with this pattern saying very easy. Just easy, maybe with a zipper. Just my opinion. So we'll go over the zipper. I'll do a close-up of this, but I don't think the zipper is too bad whatsoever. I think I did a pretty good job for my zipper. Obviously it's visible, which I would have preferred if you couldn't see it. If you did a little flap over it, I'll show another example of what that looks like on a different garment I've made. But for my first zipper, I'm actually really pleased with myself on this. It turned out much better than the second time I did a zipper. And all in all, I think I did a pretty good job. So I wouldn't classify this as a very easy pattern, but maybe because it was my first one and I actually accomplished it, I would say easy to moderate. It doesn't have pockets in it, which is a disappointment. So if you would like pockets, I think it would be easy enough just to add them in yourself. Just keep in mind to remember to do that. I did not remember to do that. I was overwhelmed enough as is, and I didn't even think about it till after I had made the dress. Add in pockets, always check your patterns, your dresses, if they have pockets in them. If they don't, work out where you can add it, how to add it, and add it in is my advice. and I will be trying to take that advice I've just given in my future sewing projects. I'm very pleased with how it went. There were more steps that it required, like I haven't interfaced the neck. I wasn't sure what it was talking about, what to do. I didn't even cut out those pieces. I know it definitely says to. I just had no clue what that meant. So I was like, I'm just going to skip that. I know that I can't leave it raw, so I just folded it over. It's wonky, it's dodgy, and yeah, it is not the tidiest in a lot of areas. But I don't think it turned out poorly. Now, some advice for other people perhaps thinking about diving into sewing. So I came pretty much from a background of, I'd done a little bit of sewing as a kid. You know, just I'd made one quilt, and it's not a particularly great quilt. And then I'd made some bags all under the supervision of my mum when I was a kid. I hadn't made a dress before, I hadn't made clothes before, and previous to this, I hadn't sewn in quite a few years. I got given a free sewing machine from one of my mum's friends. I tried it on that. Also, that sewing machine caused me so many dramas. It's definitely a good idea to get a free sewing machine or borrow one from someone else to make your first few garments on, to see if you at least like sewing. But it can be tricky if you have a machine that is pure crap, like my one was. It has the tiniest stitches. You cannot change the stitch length, you can't change the tension. That in itself caused me so many dramas and struggles. But aside from that, other recommendations I would have if you're wanting to get into sewing would be, have a look if there's any local sewing classes to you. So after I'd made my first 2 dresses, I saw a advertisement on Facebook for a local sewing class. To me, it was a 5 or 6 week program, I believe, just learning to sew a straight skirt. That was excellent. It taught me so many things that I didn't know, you know, how to read a pattern more, just little nitpicky things that I wouldn't have even thought of. That was excellent. So I did that. I also did a shirt sewing class, just a simple blouse as well. Did a couple of weeks of that. It was excellent, taught me a few things as well. But between doing those classes and also while doing them, I was continuing to sew more things. So I sewed more dresses, also tried my hand at some pajamas. And that's really what I recommend, is just keep trying. And if you can't find any sewing classes, I don't think that's really a big deal. You do have the internet at your disposal, you know, you've got books, all of that stuff. But really, I think even if you've got sewing classes, even if you look at all of that, the real way you're going to learn is just to get into it. I don't think stress too much. Try not to worry or have ideas of this has to be perfect. Just pick up a pattern, pick up one that looks not too difficult. You might be thinking, you know, how do I know if it's difficult or not? I'm probably not the best person to ask on that, but I would say try to avoid dresses that have too many pieces. Something more simple, or it doesn't have to be a dress, a shirt or anything, but something that doesn't have too many elements to it. And ideally something that doesn't have a zipper. I would say a zipper makes things a lot more difficult. So just try to find something, a simple shape, and go with that. And don't worry if your first or your second or your 5th is not anywhere near perfect. No one's will be. Don't even worry if it's a total flop. You just keep going and you try again and you learn as you go. If you're pulling your hair out like I was, don't worry. Everyone's there. Everyone's been there. I think even if you've probably been sewing for years, there's always going to be times when you're pulling your hair out, you're just going insane, you don't know what it's talking about, and you just take a break, you come back at it, you Google some things. If you have a crafty mum, you call her up, you know, asking questions, trying to get her help too. You know, crafty friend, anything. Facebook's really helpful. Join like some sewing groups, you can ask for advice on them. When you're stuck, that would be a good way to go. So yeah, I think if you're wanting to start sewing, just dive in, you know, try to forget about being perfect. This is nowhere near perfect, but I love it. I adore it. I'll keep wearing it. I'm proud of it. It's a process you've got to learn in order to get better. So I hope this has maybe encouraged some of you to learn to sew. If you've been thinking about it, you know, just pick it up. Even if you end up hating it, just give it a go for a little bit, see how you go. you know, try to find a free machine or a cheap one, or borrow one, or do some sewing classes, and then you can maybe borrow a machine off that person for a little bit, see how you like it on your own. That would be the way I would go. And then once you do get over your hurdle of, do I like this? Am I really into it? Which for me did not take long at all. I knew I was hooked and obsessed. I bought myself a nice machine not too long after it. So yeah, don't stick with a shit machine for too long. It just causes you so many dramas and it's so much harder. It just makes your life difficult. But I'm glad that I started that way, because I would never have bought myself a nice machine to begin with if I hadn't have, you know, used that shit free machine for a while. So thank you all for listening to me ramble a bit and talk about my story and my first time making this dress and my review of this pattern. Love, love, love this pattern. I love the shape of the sleeves, and I would do it this same way again. I like the effect I got with, you know, the cotton and then this more sheer fabric, which just makes it so billowy, and I would probably make this same view again. The other view looks lovely too, and I would use probably stiffer fabric for the sleeves of that one, just the design of it. But I think I will be remaking this at some point. Don't know if it'll be soon or if it'll be, you know, 10 years from now, but I like this pattern and I hope you try it out. So thank you for coming along, listening to me, and happy sewing. Bye.